You seen the golden AR-15 Colt? No, that sounds cringe though. Okay. Newsom gets asked about trolling the president. Oh, this is from the... Oh no, I thought it was one from the BTC interview.
Out of time.
Can you talk a little bit about can you react to the...
Yes! 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 Please, God, yes! Yes.
What's going on with those posts on X that are clearly trolling the president?
What?
Can you just talk about that? Is that like a strategy?
I don't know. I hope it's a wake-up call to the President of the United States. I'm sort of following his example.
Yes.
If you've got issues with what I'm putting out, you sure should have concerns about what he's putting out as president. So to the extent it's gotten some attention, I'm pleased. But I think the deeper question is, how have we allowed the normalization of his tweets through social posts?
And now CNN and MSNBC should be saying the exact same thing, right? That's true. That's a good point. Why are we mad at the Newsom press office for repeating the rhetoric that Donald Trump has been uttering unobstructedly for like 10 fucking years?
Over the course of the last many years.
Unobstructedly? Unobstructed.
To go without similar scrutiny and notice.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon and live from Texas, this is the Will Cain Show. We begin today out west in California. In dramatic fashion, Governor Gavin Newsom pulling a 5-alarm fire, not for the burning of the Palisades. Real fire in the state of California doesn't demand the attention of Gavin Newsom. Instead, he's pulled the 5-alarm fire for democracy.
We tried to play by a higher set of standards and rules with our independent redistricting, and we believe in that. We are talking about emergency measures to respond to what's happening in Texas. We'll pick up 5 seats with the consent of the people.
Consent of the people. I'm going to write that down. Remember that phrase. Consent of the people. Political talent is an interesting concept. It certainly exists. In this job, I've come across many politicians. Some are charming, some are not. Some have rhetorical skill, some stumble over their words. Some you are simply drawn to, some you are repelled. Fraudulence is a political talent. The ability to lie is a skill. And it's once been pulled off by the governor of California. But much like our conversation earlier this week with rising star Texas Democrat James Tallarico, fraudulence will eventually be exposed. And with every breath he utters, Gavin Newsom's fraudulence becomes more clear, his political talent more barren. Consent of the...
How do you counter leftist argument that Newsom is cynical or doesn't believe what he's saying? What do you mean? Why do we think he doesn't believe what he's saying?
People. A Politico poll shows California voters back independent congressional maps, meaning they prefer an independent panel draw the House district lines by nearly a 2-to-1 margin. How will Gavin Newsom, with a special session, redraw the California map to be more gerrymandering than it already exists with the consent of the people? He will try to do it by setting a 5-alarm fire and pointing out Texas.
This is the difference between what's happening in Texas and what's happening here in California. You never receive a phone call from the President of the United States to then quietly go in the back room and start drawing maps and legislatively try to jam them through against the consent of the people. We're doing precisely the opposite. We're working through a very transparent, temporary, and public process.
That's what we are.
We're putting the maps on the ballot, and we're giving the power to the people.
Something that seems to have escaped the attention of Democrats. Texans have, in overwhelming majorities, voted for Republicans. Americans have handed the levers of power through the democratic process in the House, the Senate, and the presidency to Republicans. Their policies are not popular.
I have to remind people of this. Did I say this to Dan last? Who was I arguing with? I don't remember if this is on stream or off stream. People are like so doomer on the political situation where they're saying that like we've lost everything, like the Democrats are over. It's completely. It's like, can we take a macro breath for a moment? Like the offices have swung back and forth over and over again. Calm the fuck down. I know everything feels like the end of the world. Well, now this presidency might be for the United States, but just in terms of like political wins and losses, like yeah, things swing back and forth. Okay, it happens. Calm the fuck down, Jesus. Oh yeah, it might have been on anything else with Dan. Yeah.
Democrats cannot govern with the consent of the people. And now that their techniques are being mimicked in some place like Texas to draw more favorable lines, they are the ones setting, much like the fires in Palisades, a 5-alarm fire. Well, Newsom's fans weren't the only one at that afternoon event. Border Patrol agents spotted outside the rally as well, arresting suspected illegal immigrants. This reflects the consent of the people, restoring law and order on the streets of California.
Like, that is a fashy as fuck thing to say, right? And this is also how you know these guys have absolutely no fucking values, right? What happened to federalism and what happened to states' rights, right? Why are you championing The Fed's coming down here. Also, keep in mind, also for all of you ice cucks that are out here with your new fucking Trump dragon dildos that feel like government supports you so much, remember that this whole MAGA movement, and you guys included, hated every fucking Fed because all the Feds were fucking poisonous. The FBI lied about all the Russiagate stuff. The NSA is fucking evil and they spy on you. QAnon proved that all the intelligence agencies were coming together to rig everything against Donald Trump. All of the Feds, the conservative movement fucking hated all of you. So it's funny to watch you guys come out here now, like the actual cucks you are, and pretend that you're somehow loved and accepted. Like, these guys will turn on you in a fucking heartbeat. It's just so cringe to be celebrating. It's just it's not necessarily cringe. Listen, if you were always a big federal government guy, sure. But when these guys were the neocons who were, of small government and states' rights and are now celebrating, federal officers going down to harass a gathering of state representatives, like, eat shit.
Suspected illegal immigrants. This reflects the consent of the people, restoring law and order on the streets of California. The governor blasting the move, though, he wrote on X, Trump's private army is illegally on private property. We will not be intimidated by this weak little man. Well, he wrote that. It's not lost on people. He's LARPing President Trump. And his office has been doing so now for a couple of days. Take a look at some of these posts. They wrote, make the maps great again. Big, beautiful.
Hold on. Okay, this guy said it. Fuck. It stuck with me, and it's a true point. It was a really minor thing he brought up, but it. Fuck, I don't remember what he said exactly. It had to do with forcing confrontations. That you, when you go out and you do an aggressive action, it forces the adversary to his media is going to be constrained to responding to that, right? Usually it's the Republicans who are attacking all the time. But like when Newsom is on the attack, I think you have to be very careful. There's so much stuff that's like going on that's hard to see. So one, this guy has to cover Newsom's press office tweets. So, but this is good for a variety of reasons. One, you're dictating their media diet for once, okay? Finally, right? Because usually we're having our media diet dictated to us by responding to Trump tweets, whatever, right? Now, so he has to respond to this, right? I know this is just one example too, but if stuff like this continues. So one, you're forcing him to play on our terms now. He has to respond to these tweets, number one. Number two, it means that he's not highlighting some random 2-follower Twitter account and blowing up some random trans activist or whatever doing some crazy shit. So you're also taking the spotlight off of, more unhinged stupid shit that you don't want to have to be accountable for. And then three, you're controlling, what the conversation is about rather than talking about whatever retarded shit he wants to talk about today. Now he has to talk about Newsom's tweets. Like stuff like this, like forcing these types of confrontations on areas that you want to fight, I think is good.
Well, he wrote that. It's not lost on people. He's LARPing President Trump. And his office has been doing so now for a couple of days. Take a look at some of these posts. They wrote, make the maps great again. Big, beautiful rally today. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's like a college sophomore trying to take English 101. They still haven't yet found their voice. So the only thing he knows how to do is copy. I guess imitation is the greatest form of flattery. But while Newsom focuses on not his state and not the crisis in the economy or literally in the hills of California and instead focuses on national politics, his state is still reeling from the effects of the LA fires. And many are still looking for accountability.
I had meetings today with the type of people that can ensure what happened in my town won't ever happen again. This is America. We fight. Justice is coming.
So that right there, that's reality star Spencer Pratt. He lost his home in January in the LA fires, and now he's on a mission to find answers. He has said he knows things now, things that should terrify Gavin Newsom. Joining me now is Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk.
Knows that? What does he know? What? That Newsom was out there starting the fire?
Charlie, it's great to see you here today. As always, you're an astute observer of politics.
I think this is the section you were talking about. Supporter, nobody tracked him. And there's just it's just all these ridiculous lies that Trump repeats over and over again, and there's no checking on any of it, and the fact checkers are all biased and liberal, they say, and the center left media won't even hold any of these people accountable, and it's very frustrating.
It puts an enormous burden on our candidates to be able to respond to that much misinformation, because you almost have to pluck them. You remember the old game shows where they lock a person in a booth, turn on the fan, and see how they pluck as many dollars as they can. So when you're a candidate, you have to be very discerning and also very fast to say, that one I've got to respond to, and I've got to carve off some money from my positive message in order to come back at them on that. But we've rarely been so misinformed. I'll give you one near and dear to my heart. I was spending a fair amount of time. I always spent time as a commissioner of Social Security, President Biden's commissioner, out in the country, because it's the largest domestic program in the United States. And yes, we did security stats. So every two weeks, doubleheaders, Mondays and Tuesdays. Hey,
do you remember when O'Malley showed up in it was the giant poster boards that he brought up? Fuck! Fuck, what was he responding to? This evil fuck. God, I hate this guy so much.
Gentlemen, yield chair recognize Ms. Groveman from Wisconsin.
Yeah, first of all, I think there was just an unnecessary criticism of people in the workforce who aren't veterans, you know, that are.
Due to operational needs, management also has sole discretion to change, reduce, or approve telework days for any employee due to the employee's performance. And before that, the first sentence says, the parties recognize that agency-assigned functions and the nature of work to be performed and the type of positions can vary significantly from office to office. So that's in the agreement.
Still, right.
See at the bottom of page 1?
Right.
Yeah,
when I read
that paragraph.
It implies here. We'll look
I
at
don't think it was implying anything. I think it was pretty clear.
Right. You suspended the ability, but it didn't eliminate the ability.
No, we're not going to eliminate telework. We can't because you've reduced our staffing to a 50-year low at an agency that people already paid for their customer service staffing.
Okay. We'll move on to one other thing. I'd like to show you a picture. Well, how many SSA employees work out of SSA headquarters?
Approximately 7,000 and shrinking. We lost 2,000 staff this year across the agency due to Congress's inability to pass a budget. That, therefore, puts the agency into a hiring freeze, and attrition wipes out, so far, 2,000 people.
So on a normal work day, despite having about 7,000 employees, it shows in December 2023 a parking lot almost completely devoid of workers.
Yes, it's right behind you, and I hope the camera catches it, because that was before I got to the agency. This is a picture of that same parking lot after I got to the agency.
Okay.
Because I ordered everybody back.
That should be instant retirement. You should just quit life, or at least Congress.
3 days a week, and in my commissioner's office, 4 days.
Okay. You feel it's January 2025, how many processing times, or how have processing times not returned to pre-pandemic levels? Have they?
In some cases, they have. In fact, actually, for the first time in 8 years, this is the one that most of your constituents apply for, and this is the retirement benefits. We hadn't hit 87% timeliness since 2017, but we did this year. That's this right here, and this is monthly. And by the way, in an example of the greatest example of openness, transparency, and real-time performance management, at least for the next few days, you can see all of these metrics on Social Security's website, and they're real-time.
Okay.
All right, gentleman, taxpayer chair, Ricky.
Headquarters, but then I was off into the country. And I was visiting Pennsylvania and visiting a lot of some field offices in the central part of Pennsylvania. And our employees behind the glass would show me the mailers they were receiving in the in the course of the campaign. In fact, some people in the waiting rooms had them with them and showed them to me. And it was, the statement was, this woman, a picture of Kamala Harris, wants to tax your Social Security benefits and allow illegal immigrants to bankrupt the Social Security Trust Fund. Now, the truth of the matter is, illegal immigrants, so-called, are not able to earn any benefits from Social Security. They never touch the trust fund except to put $22 billion into it that they'll never see a penny of later. And I was hearing from other entities that were polling on the attitudes of people. The basic question of who do you trust most to protect Social Security, that no Republican in modern times ever drew that margin so narrow as to be virtually tied with us in Pennsylvania and Michigan on the question of who do you trust more on Social Security. And yet, we were not responding to that at all. So we've got to get better at the rapid response. We've got to get better at calling out the misinformation. And we have to get better at recruiting good people who live in the United States if the other guys are going to be looking the other way as Russians or Chinese or whoever.
It might have been somebody else that said it. I thought he said it somewhere in this. But yeah, just like starting fights to force them to respond to our points rather than us being held captive by theirs. Yeah.
It's really something to see what's happened to the Democrat Party. Now, we've had that conversation. But there's something uniquely, such a repellent about Gavin Newsom and now what he's trying to do in California.
That's right. And just to reiterate your phenomenal open, Proposition 11 was voted on by the peak gerrymandering out of the hands of politicians and into this independent commission. Now, it's far from perfect. Some of the maps in California are a little bit creative, to say the least, a little circuitous. But however, it did have some sort of a spirit that the people of California did not want politics involved in the drawing of their maps.
Don't ever, remember, don't ever let this happen. You should cut them off of that. When anybody tries to do this in real life, don't ever let a Republican talk to you about your rules or your morals or your laws, because they don't give a fuck. Remember, this is the delight. This is the delightful thing that the who was the guy who talked about anti-Semitic people? The quote. I should have this one memorized. Sartre? I always fuck his name up too. Hold on. You know what? Jean-Paul Sartre. Wait. I will always fuck this guy's name up. Say it!
See, his gaze tactfully averted through shyness, or perhaps what Jean-Paul Sartre called nausea. Nevertheless.
Not this one.
Jean-Paul Sartre. These are all people who live outside of universities, and they have the best ideas. And my career in relation to philosophy has been to say, listen, guys, we have to try and go back to what the philosopher was.
Did he already say it? I think he already
Graham Greene or thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre are
Jean-Paul Sartre.
As if it were a Seinfeld episode written by Jean-Paul Sartre.
Okay, I guess it is Sartre. Cringe. He's talking about anti-Semites, but this extends to all of these fucking cringe fucking movements. We will memorize this quote, okay? Never believe that anti-Semites are completely unaware of the absurdity of their replies. They know that their remarks are frivolous, open to challenge, but they are amusing themselves, for it is their adversary who is obliged to use rules responsibly, since he believes in rules. The anti-Semites, or MAGA, have the right to play. They even like to play with rules, with rule of law, with government, for by giving ridiculous reasons, they discredit the seriousness of their interlocutors. They delight in acting in bad faith, since they seek not to persuade by sound argument, but to intimidate and disconcert. If you press them too closely, they will abruptly fall silent, loftily indicating by some phrase that the time for argument is past. If the Jew did not exist, the anti-Semite would invent him. Ooh, that's a good one for the deep state. We're reinventing the deep state right now for Obama because there's no deep state to blame. We reinvented the deep state for the burn bags. I guess they put the Epstein files in the burn bags. Or no, I'm sorry. They found the Russia hoax files in the burn bags, right? From Obama? Jesus, yeah.
In fact, a recent poll shows that 64% of Californians do not want to see Gavin Newsom do this. But Gavin Newsom needs to dig himself out of a hole. This is what 64% of Californians do not want to see Gavin Newsom do this. But Gavin Newsom needs to dig himself out of a hole. This is what it's all about. This is about Gavin Newsom's failed podcast strategy. Gavin Newsom had a podcast strategy, which I was the first guest on, where he was going to try to moderate himself and try to do the bro-y podcast culture, of which he was really bad at. He didn't know his facts, his figures. He didn't really know how to deal with facts like myself and other people. And he thought he was going to be...
Oh, Newsom is he's having a Destiny moment where he brings on a guy, he's super fucking nice and cordial, and then the guy shit talks him later.
Welcomed in as the 2028 Democrat candidate. But the Democrat Party, they do not want someone to start a podcast. They want a quote-unquote fighter against Donald Trump. All Gavin Newsom cares about is being president of the United States. That's all he cares about. That's all that this is. This is a 2028 strategy. And so Gavin Newsom is going to try to call a special session to overturn the will of the voters. I thought it was all about democracy, right, Wilkin? It's not democracy. It's about oligarchy. And the baseline component of all of this is that the people of California, Republican and Democrat, socialist and libertarian, they don't want politicians involved in the drawing of the maps. Gavin Newsom does not care because he wants to be president more than listen to the voters of California.
Charlie, you remind me of something there. I had forgotten that you were the first guest into Gavin Newsom's attempt to podcast. You know, I talked about his fraudulence is so transparent. What was he like in person, Charlie? When you sat there, is he capable of being authentically charming? Does he have the mannerisms of it mastered, or is it exposed over a period of time? What was it like being around Gavin Newsom?
I mean, he can pass a lie detector test. I mean, this guy can win anybody over. But if you understand, it's all about the pursuit of power. This is a guy that will say anything and do anything to be in charge. His entire life has been about the ascension and accumulation of political power. And you made a really good point in your open. It's not about making sure that they could rebuild Los Angeles. Not a matter of being able to deliver results for the people of the Palisades. Not to be able to make sure that the schools of California are functioning. Right now, there is a bill that is going to head to Gavin Newsom's desk that would legalize some form of child kidnapping. It's AB 495 that's working its way through Sacramento right now. But
schools aren't UC schools still like some of the best state schools in the country? Aren't there like multiple UC schools that are like some of the best schools? Like, is that?
Gavin Newsom, what he was like personally, is honestly someone that is super inauthentic and honestly fraudulent. You contrast that with President Trump, who I saw him the other day. He is the exact same person in private that he is in public. What you see in private, we get in public. There is no fakery. There is no inauthenticity. But we have to understand that this national fight that Gavin Newsom is trying to pick. By the way, who is he to say, well, Donald Trump missed the deadline? You're the governor of a failed state that has the greatest climate on the planet that is losing population. You have to act.
Jesus. I don't know how reputable this list is, but top public schools. Number 1, UCLA. Number 2, University of California, Berkeley. You've got Michigan, Virginia, University of North Carolina, University of California, San Diego, University of Florida, University of Texas at Austin, Georgia Institute of Tech, University of California, Davis, University of California, Irvine. Jesus Christ! University of California, Santa Barbara. Holy shit!
actively try to get people to leave California. If anyone's leaving California, they're doing so unwillingly. If people are leaving California, that means you have turned it into a smoldering crater of its former self. And Gavin Newsom, he just wants to be the king of the ashes, even though California is an unrecognizable state of its current self.
That's a great point. You were gifted the Sierra Nevadas in the Pacific Ocean, the world's 5th largest economy, and you literally drove people out of your state.
That's
words
exactly right.
are such a plaything on the left. They are...
He's doing it! What? He's doing the thing! What?
Largest economy, and you literally drove people out of your state.
That's exactly
words
right.
are such a plaything on the left. They are bent and tortured into whatever it is you want them to mean. And of course, they've always loved to torture the concept of democracy, always overlooking we are a constitutional republic. But for years, we were told if you question the integrity of an election, then you are actually undermining our democracy. And yet here is Gavin Newsom saying...
That's not at all what people were saying, but okay.
...that Donald Trump is trying to rig an election.
He did try to rig 2020. That's like an undeniable fact. It's so funny. Like 90% of Republicans think that the 2020 election was rigged, and they're correct, just in the totally wrong way, which is
open in plain sight before one vote is cast in the 2026 midterm election. And here he is once again trying to rig the system. He doesn't play by a different set of rules. He doesn't believe in the rules. And as a consequence, we need to disabuse ourselves of the way things have been done.
That's just a more palatable way of saying what was said by Robert Francis O'Rourke. F the rules.
Well, that's right. And look, the Democrats, they're in free-for-all. They're in disarray. We know that. And the question is, which way are they going to go? And Gavin Newsom thought the Democrat Party would want some moderation on all of this. That was his original strategy when it came to his podcast, as I mentioned. But he quickly realized the Democrat Party, all they want is political power. They don't care about principles. They don't care about the betterment of D.C., Philadelphia, Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, Boston, New York, Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, San Francisco. They control all those cities that are disasters and awful forms of how they used to be. So Gavin Newsom, he wants to change the rules in the middle of the game. And also, the Democrats, they want to say, oh, gerrymandering.
Change the rules in the middle of the game. Who was asking for redistricting and doing a re-census before the 10-year time limit on that? Who was asking for that?
The worst thing ever. You look at Illinois. Illinois is like the petri dish of American gerrymandering. But Gavin Newsom is a perfect example of somebody that stands for nothing except himself. And all he cares about is the personal accumulation of political power. And I just want to repeat this. 64% of the people of his extremely liberal state do not want to see him do this. And so much for democracy, Gavin Newsom. You're going to overturn a ballot measure to do this. Why? Because you want to try to resurrect your gutter bottom polling that shows that you don't have a great chance of being the Democrat nominee.
Right.
You're trying to make yourself relevant again by overturning the will of the people of California.
Beto O'Rourke said, F the rules, grab some power. Gavin Newsom has said, pick me, I'll take the power. Charlie Kirk, it's always great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling.
This is a guy, people look up to the President of the United States. I mean, Mr. President, it's time to act like one. This is real life. It's not reality TV. And you got to model better behavior. But I think it's sad. And I think it's even worse than you just described. And I'll just give you a specific to that. When Donald Trump was just, a day before he was to federalize the National Guard here in Los Angeles, he called me. We talked on a Friday night, late at night. And he wanted to brag about the Newsom thing. He said, "That's pretty funny, isn't it?" He goes, "Pretty original." I said, "Well, it's not original. There was this guy, I can't remember his name, but he used to say the same thing." He goes, "Hey, what about my hats? What do you think? It's a pretty good brand, right? Mega. Pretty good. I've sold hundreds of thousands." I mean, I'm like, are you serious? Are we seriously having this conversation?
Sounds
when you're
about
supposed
right.
to be reading me the riot act about keeping people safe in Los Angeles, you never once talked about the National Guard. You never wanted to talk about what happened in LA. It's much more alarming than you think. And that's why what is happening in plain sight, you need to see for your own eyes. We've got to pay attention. This guy is unhinged. He's getting weaker and weaker by the day. You saw that with the new inflation numbers that came out, the wholesale numbers that came out today. You're seeing that with an economy that's slowing down. You see that with the crony capitalism, where he's extracting and nationalizing businesses, socializing, dare I say, some of America's most iconic businesses, and doing 15% extractions. Ask NVIDIA how that feels. Look what's happening in this country to truth and trust. He's trying to censor historical facts. He's trying to rewrite history in the Smithsonian's. This is one of the great grafts and the great corruption we've ever seen in U.S. history. Billions of dollars have been fleeced from the American people. It's right in front of us. So this is a serious moment. It requires seriousness of purpose, and it requires us to fight fire with fire and play by a new set of rules. And I know that's hard for Democrats. I know, trust me, I'm one of them. But this is a real moment of peril if we do not stand up.
So right before he's about to send the National Guard and then the military into Los Angeles and California, all he wants to talk about is his MAGA hat. And if you
wants to talk about how his debate with Kamala Harris, you cannot make this stuff up.
Did you see the debate? Did you see the hat? You like my nicknames? Like as though you're buds. While he's out there saying all these horrible things, while he's sending the National Guard in.
I mean, that's literally just the only thing Trump does, right? Is I mean, it works on a lot of retards, right? Dude, I still can't believe this. I had dinner with Trump, and he was a nice guy.
He did on this night, because he said to me early on that he'd seen our last episode, which was the Friday before this dinner. And he said, I thought maybe you'd be nice, but you hit me really hard. I did, because I'm not going to pull my punches that presidents get to propose a third term for themselves. He understood that, and without animus. That doesn't mean he's not going to try to do it. At one point, I said to him,
this whole thing was so dumb. Oh my God. Hi, Robot, if the bot spent a millisecond on Instagram Reels.
Can a robot write a symphony? Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece?
Gavin Newsom is running to become Trump's top antagonist. The California governor, or more accurately, his staff, has been mimicking the president's trademark all-caps Truth Social rants with posts like this. Donald Taco Trump, as many call him, missed the deadline, 3 exclamation points. California will now draw new, more beautiful maps. They will be historic as they will end the Trump presidency. Dems take back the House. Earlier, Newsom held a press conference to unveil California's new redistricting push. Watch.
Today is Liberation Day in the state of California, and as Senator Schiff said, Donald Trump, you have poked the bear, and we will punch back. We cannot unilaterally disarm. They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides, because they know what Donald Trump knows. He's going to lose the midterms.
Somebody else was at the Newsom news conference. Border Patrol agents were outside arresting illegal immigrants, and it sure set off the governor.
Pretty sick and pathetic. And it just said everything you need to know, the setting that we're under. That they chose the time, manner, and place to send their district director outside right when we're about to have this press conference. It said everything you know about Donald Trump's America. And that was top down. You know that for a fact.
The language is intentional for a lot of these things, right? Time, manner, and place, right? Referring to the clause for holding elections and everything. This is left to the states. Earlier when he was saying...
power that gerrymandering provides. Want to rig these elections? Punch back. We cannot unilaterally disarm. They want to rig these elections,
Wait, there was one more
and they want the power that gerrymandering provides, because they know what Donald Trump knows. He's going to lose the midterms.
Somebody else was at the Newsom news conference. Border Patrol unveiled California's new redistricting.
Wait.
Today is Liberation Day.
Oh, the Liberation Day thing. Oh, yeah, trying to take back that Liberation Day thing from Trump. I think it actually triggers the fuck out of him, too. I think it does.
Enter in place to send their district director outside right when we're about to have this press conference. Everything you know about Donald Trump's America. And that was top down. You know that for a fact. They'll deny it, I'm sure. Maybe they won't deny it. So everything you know about the authoritarian tendencies of the President of the United States.
What do you think of that, Charlie?
The guy's such a faker. He's such a fraud. It's so absurd. Who has time to come sit down and make up all of these tweets? And if you read them, he put a lot of
Imagine saying that! What? Imagine saying that.
Fraud. It's so absurd. Who has time to come sit down and make up all of these tweets? And if you read them, he put a lot of effort into it. And he really did try to sort of like get the voice of Trump. And I just, you know, when you look at the real problems that California faces with, whether it's the same ones that, you know, that we face nationally with illegal immigration, but also the very specific ones, you have entire neighborhoods that were burned to the ground a year ago that are desperate to rebuild. And his government is preventing people from rebuilding those houses. You would think that he might focus on that instead of doing these ridiculous effort to try to channel Trump. One of his tweets at 9:42 this morning said, Donald Trump and Greg Abbott are going to have a very bad day today, which sounds a lot like Baghdad Bob or like the mullahs in Iran when they're like talking junk on Twitter as Donald Trump is like bombing their nuclear facilities. He's ridiculous. He's completely unserious. He reminds me a lot of Michael Avenatti before Michael Avenatti went off to prison. When everybody's like, oh, this guy's going to be the next president. This guy's not going to be president. This guy's a ridiculous buffoon, and he's not going anywhere. It does remind you, though, how much of a complete original Donald Trump is. You know, all these
Holy glaze, bro.
people want to like mimic him. He's not mimicking anybody. He is the original.
Yeah, I think that I hate when people copy everything else. Like when my sister did it to me, that would drive me insane.
Wow.
Yeah, Angie, hardest hit. But several of these people are trying that, or they're trying to be tough, and it's not authentic. It's like, why not just try to be yourself? It's the worst way that you can try to find some sort of cohesion with people outside of your bubble is to just be yourself, not to try to be somebody else, in this case, Trump.
But themselves have been rejected again and again now by the voters. Voters don't want defunding the police, defending the criminals, higher taxes, more regulations. Look at his California. Everything beautiful about California was God-made. Every disaster there to me seems man-made. And he's the man.
God made Silicon Valley? What?
can right now at the moment. I'm not even sure anybody tuning in, Dana, let alone to California, halfway into his press conference, even knows what he's talking about. They presume that we all know what brought us to that moment. That platform says rigging, Election Rigging Response Act. Adam Schiff's behind him, of all people. Next, we're going to invite Kamala up to the podium. I mean, Adam Schiff, of all people, who's got a true problem on his hands, having lied in the mortgage application thing. He's a senator from California, yet somehow he lives in Maryland. And here's a guy who lied to all of us day after day. There's evidence of Russia collusion in plain sight. This is relevant now because these investigations will continue. I don't think this is a case of flattery is the greatest, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. I think it's a messageless, rudderless, leaderless party. And by the way, just north of him up in Alaska, starting tomorrow, President Trump is going to literally own the turf again. He's trying to bring about yet another peace deal. We have Armenia and Azerbaijan. We have Cambodia and Thailand. We have what he's doing in the Middle East. We have direct foreign investment, all these trade deals. He goes to the Gulf states. He comes out of there with investments in this country. And now he's going to do it again with Putin. And meanwhile, you've got Shifty Schiff and Newsom trying to troll him online. By the way, Donald Trump is one of one. Even Republicans who try to act like him often come
They fail, and it's embarrassing.
They fail. And it's, yeah.
But Jessica, also today there's a poll that said 61% of California Democrats oppose the plan to throw out the Independent Redistricting Commission. Do you think that holds, or can you persuade them that he's right?
So the problem with that poll is it didn't actually ask the question that applies to what Gavin Newsom is offering, which is to not get rid of the Independent Commission on a long-term basis, but to suspend it. He's offering 3 different maps, 3 different versions of what's possible. It'll be on a ballot measure, so it will be democratically voted on November 5th.
I wonder how much longer she's going to be allowed to be on Fox on this show.
That poll question basically said, do you want to just get rid of the Independent Commission? He's saying to suspend it until 2030. He knows how important independent redistricting is. It was Schwarzenegger's baby. He's spoken to the governor about that, former governor, and former governor. So that poll is not applicable to what's actually going on here. I know it did get a lot of pickup. Kellyanne says all these people have been rejected. Gavin Newsom hasn't been rejected. He's been elected and reelected and recalled and then elected again. And he won that quite handedly. So I don't know where you're getting that. You can make fun of Adam Schiff, Alex Padilla, whoever you want, but California needs to do something because of what Donald Trump has asked Texas to do. And there is no reason that Democrats should show up with a knife to a gunfight. And that's what he's arguing. And it's not just that, so Texas will pick up 5 seats. What Gavin Newsom could potentially do if the voters decide, again, this is about democracy, that they want to go full tilt, they could get 9 seats. So they could get 5 Republicans out, and they could also shore up 4 vulnerable Democrats in swing seats and make sure we get those as well.
It's and when they're elected, I'll clarify, it's easy, simple to get elected, reelected, and reelected as a Democrat, as a socialist, as a
Socialist?
Gavin
Newsom is a
as
socialist?
a coddle criminals. Has he condemned Mamdani? Has he condemned what's going on here?
Condemn Mamdani? Why would we want the governor of California to have any opinion about the mayor of New York? What are you talking about?
Stop just throwing whatever on the wall about this. You're just using buzzwords.
I don't need to use buzzwords. Here's
Really,
the substance
Mamdani
of
has
this
nothing
guy.
to do with Gavin Newsom.
Oh, New York City has nothing to do with the governor of California. They're the same
Yes, that's correct. It doesn't.
party, as is your party. But since you invoked my name, we're going to do Fox News debate rules, and I get 30 seconds. Here's what I meant.
I never
It is
get that
simple.
rule.
It is so simple to be elected, reelected. As a Democrat in California, it's impossible to govern as these kinds of Democrats in California is all I mean. His policies are being rejected. People do want tough on crime. They don't want fewer cops on the beat. They don't want fewer Border Patrol people helping them. They don't want schools that are failing their kids year in and year out, and Democrats insisting everything's okay. He wants to be president in 2028. He ought to find a new country to try to do that.
Let's ask the Californian what you think, Greg Gutfeld.
I'm struck about how finally you see passion among Democrats, but it's not about a policy. It's about a power-based initiative. It's about how can we do this so we stay in power. It's not about homelessness, drug addiction, fires, or trans, or crime, or the border. It's about redistricting. And then their fire is up. Gavin is so creepy, he makes American Psycho look like Pippi Longstocking. Again, with they don't get it. You know, if you want a meme or anything to be memorable, it has to be truth taken from absurdity. But if you are the absurdity, it's not possible. They should have learned that from Dark Brandon, where they tried to make dementia cool. Oh, yeah, sure, Joe is frail, confused, and incoherent, but he can almost put on his sunglasses by himself. Gavin...
Meanwhile, Donald Trump stares at the fucking sun.
Can't be Trump, because behind Trump's charisma is specific common sense policies. He understands people. Build a wall, deport criminals, eradicate vagrancy, get trans out of sports. What is Gavin for? Nobody knows. He cannot point to one policy. It's not about crime. It's not about the wildfires. It's nothing. I don't know what he stands for. And it leads me to this other thing about trying to figure out why Democrats are so lazy. And they are literally lazy. They think that if they just focus on Trump, then they don't have to assess these other issues. There's like 6 or 7 issues. He says people are scared. He says that Trump's going to run for a 3rd term. These are very easy things to say. They're hypothetical. They're not true. But it's...
Would you necessarily be against the government owning 15% of companies? Yes, that's a huge share in every company in the U.S. It's an insane amount for the government to own.
Easy. So if Democrats know the problem, why don't they solve it? Are they allergic to work? How are you allergic to work? It makes me think that when they look at a problem, they see the effort and the inconvenience that is put on them to reach that point, where Republicans actually see the outcome of the work. And that makes the inconvenience and the effort worth it. So we're going to be unpopular if we crack down on crime. So people will call us transphobic if we want men out of women's sports. So people are going to call us xenophobic because we want a wall. But that's what we go through to get to the solution. The Democrats, however, are just focused on the effort and the inconvenience of losing status if they were to grow some balls.
If they wanted to do the work, they wouldn't steal fire.
Meanwhile, They won't offer real solutions to anything. The wall is a lazy solution to a comprehensive immigration reform. Deploying the feds to some places is a lazy solution to actually doing real criminal reform, right? Like everything that you're bringing up that the Republicans are doing are lazy. They're not even half measures. They're virtue signals to all these problems.
Focused on the effort and the inconvenience of losing status if they were to grow some balls.
If they wanted to do the work, they wouldn't steal 5 seats. And that's what Donald Trump asked them to do.
Well, that's a political question. I'm talking about people's concerns. And right now, you're in big trouble.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. If I didn't have to go to the bathroom right now, we would have a serious
I
conversation.
say, let go, Greg.
All right, up next, President Trump is offering his blunt take on the leaders of the Democratic Party. We'll be right back.
Texas House fails to reach a quorum to pass the redistricting map since Democrats are still away from Texas. The special session is now over. Greg Abbott is forced to call a second session or drop his plans entirely. I wonder what he'll do. Rip. I'm getting ready for the gerrymandering battle. Oh, shit.
Trump has vowed to make D.C. safe and beautiful again.
My God.
And as part of his effort to fight crime, he's bringing in our federal law enforcement partners like FBI, ATF, DEA, or Park Police, everybody to help the Metropolitan PD fight crime. And the president's message to the criminals was, if you spit, we hit. Well, we didn't quite do that the other night when an individual went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him.
And throwing a Subway sandwich at him.
Yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big.
Oh my God, this big!
And took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else. So President Trump has vowed to make D.C. safe and beautiful.
Look at her profile pic. Jesus Christ. Are they really going to go for the full felony on this? An enhanced version of an assault charge that requires bodily injury and carries up to 8 years in federal prison. Well, good luck. Oh, we saw this yesterday, that guy was apparently a DOJ employee. He got fired. No chance they get an indictment? Do they need to get a formal indictment? Or can they just, I don't know why you need indictments sometimes, why you don't. Felony misdemeanor distinction. Do you always need to seek an indictment from a grand jury for a felony charge? Is that true?
James Comer.
Well, that was the scene in one area of Washington last night. Protesters yelling at federal officers at a checkpoint at a popular nightlife destination in the district. According to an account of the Washington Post, a number of people were detained with a woman handcuffed while the crowd booed and yelled at officers to, quote, read the Constitution. Just a couple of blocks away, a man was arrested after first shouting obscenities at officers and then throwing a sandwich at one.
Would it not be cool the government owns 10 to 50% of companies that create an external? No, maybe 1% or 2% would be tons of money. Even 1% might be high. 10 to 50% is a massive amount. The government doesn't need to own 10 to 50% of every company. How did they catch this guy? I thought he escaped, guys. What the fuck?
Well, Well, the alleged assailant, a man named Sean Charles Dunn, was a Justice Department employee. He's now been fired, and he's also been charged with a felony, something former Fox News anchor and now U.S. Attorney.
Oh, yeah, he turned himself in. And then they made the video with them going to take him into custody.
For the district, Janine Pirro announced on social media.
He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
It's the attorney for the district. The president also weighed in not on the sandwich, but on the larger question of taking federal law enforcement officers away from their regular jobs and putting them on the streets.
Are you concerned at all that some federal officers that are helping D.C. police might be being pulled away from other high-priority assignments?
Like what? Like what?
Terrorism, for
example. Oh, really? Terrorism? They'll stop terrorism as part of what they're doing right now. You know, in Washington, D.C., they have thousands of police. They have a lot of police, but the police weren't allowed to do their job. We have a lot of great ones. Then you have some that weren't so good, to be honest, but they weren't allowed to do their job. But now they are allowed to do their job.
Joining us now is former D.C. Police Chief Charles Ramsey, who's now CNN senior law enforcement analyst. Do you see this increase in National Guard troops as helpful, as beneficial? Concerns? What do you think is working?
You know, when this was first announced, of course, I was very skeptical, and I'm still a little skeptical that the main motivation is to make D.C. a safer place. But having said that, the additional personnel, particularly the federal law enforcement, it can be used to actually make a difference in many of these neighborhoods. Now, I'm not a big fan of the National Guard being used in that capacity. However, right now they're in a support role, and I'm okay with that. But it has to be done in coordination with the Metropolitan Police Department.
What?
And I'm still a little
concerns. What do you think is working?
You know, when this was first announced, of course, I was very skeptical, and I'm still a little skeptical that the main motivation is to make D.C. a safer place.
Like, what? I'm still a little skeptical. You really? That's the response? A little skeptical?
But having said that, the additional personnel, particularly the federal law enforcement, it can be used to actually make a difference in many of these neighborhoods. Now, I'm not a big fan of the National Guard being used in that capacity. However, right now they're in a support role, and I'm okay with that. But it has to be done in coordination with the Metropolitan Police Department, with the city, and they've got to target specific areas of the city that are...
Yeah, but that's not happening. And I'm pretty sure they tried to nationalize the MPD as well, right?
Still very challenged in terms of crime.
Or
you can never
federalize
drive
or whatever.
crime down low enough. You have to keep pushing and pushing because there are people who live in these challenged areas. We can talk about crime stats being down all we want. As far as they're concerned, there's been no difference. So it's the perception of crime as well as the reality that we have to deal with.
Well, let's talk about the reality, because the crime stats, which have been cited by a number of officials, are now being questioned by the police union in D.C. The president was asked about recent crime statistics in the Oval Office today, and he refers to that. I just want to play part of the answer.
So we will have crime under control very shortly in D.C., but they're record numbers, and sadly, what I guess the mayor did, but whoever it was, they asked the numbers to be fudged so they would show less crime. The fact is, it's worse than it's ever been. They're giving us phony crime stats, just like they gave other stats in the financial world. They're phony crime stats.
Oh, in the financial world. Oh, the same person, the same woman that was doing the BLS stats was also doing the DC crime stats. Is that what he just said?
Worse than it's ever been. They are giving us phony crime stats, just like they gave other stats in the financial world.
Oh, okay.
They're phony crime stats. And Washington, D.C. is at its worst point, and it will soon be at its best point. You're going to have a very safe, you're going to have a crime-free city. I mean, I say that. You're going to have virtually a crime-free city.
I mean,
crime-free. Apparently, Pam Bondi just stripped the D.C. police chief of powers, rescind sanctuary city policies amid legal challenge based.
Does police leadership cook the books? It happened in the Vietnam War in the military with the body count. It's happened, it happens in some places.
You know, when I was a young cop in Chicago back in the 1970s, there was a huge scandal around cooking the books or changing crime stats. I'm not aware of anything like that going on in D.C. In fact, the union president who said that, I don't believe he's produced a bit of evidence to show that that in fact is the case. I mean, if crime is down, crime is down. But again, it doesn't get around the fact that you can always drive it down further. And that's really what you need to be able to do. The biggest problem I have with this, because
with the National Guard, you can get rid of all crime in D.C. if you just nuke it. What a stupid... Fuck CNN. I don't like this. You know what? I'm CNN's #1 hater, okay? I need to see some better shit out of this news network. I don't know who the fuck these people are broadcasting it. Maybe this is why their ratings are so down. Trump thinks it's because they're too far left. It's because they're too centrist, okay? Can we get a fucking... I need a Democratic news media channel, please.
You can have this large surge of personnel in the district. You'll suppress crime for a period of time. But what's the plan? What's the long-term strategy for being able to maintain it, to keep it quiet, to keep it...
There is none, obviously. This has nothing to do with criminal enforcement. This has to do with a show of power. Why the fuck would you send the National Guard out to enforce crime? Well, this is so stupid.
Peaceful and safe. I haven't heard anybody talk about that at all, and that's what they need to be thinking about. This many people cannot stay in the district for very long. They just can't. You've got to be able to move on and do your job, do your other job, rather.
What's going on here in Washington, D.C.? I mean, we've seen there were National Guard patrols in Georgetown. There was a checkpoint set up in a popular nightlife district. I used to live around the corner from 14th and W Northwest. We have not seen the presence be sort of all across the city from what we can tell, but rather these isolated places. What do you think the ultimate upshot of all of this is, this display from the president?
That remains to be seen, and whether there's any... I mean, crime has been coming down in Washington, still too high. That's true in most American cities, coming down. And frankly, one homicide is one homicide too... much. So we'll see if there's actually any real effect. It's not really clear what they're doing, but the precedent of declaring emergencies and saying Washington is a hellscape, and therefore I'm going to send military in. We saw it in other places. We saw it in L.A. Where Marines sat around for several weeks, not doing a heck of a lot, but the show of force was clear. And you don't want to normalize casual declarations of independence and then authorization of military industry. Because then
just to be clear, it has been normalized. It is normalized. It is normal now. We expect it. It's happening, and no one seems to care that much. It is already normalized.
Get to the point where you see, folks showing up at political rallies and there's a reason why we keep the military separate from domestic activities. So, there's a concern about that. But I don't know I'm hoping. Look, I hope the upshot is somehow this improves things. But it's a question as to whether that's the fundamental objective.
It won't, and that's not the intent. I mean, look, let's.
Thank you.
Be extremely honest about where we are with crime in this country. If you look in cities like Little Rock, Arkansas, if you look in cities like Atlanta, Georgia, if you look in cities like Birmingham, Alabama, where you have mayors such as Frank Scott, and you have mayors such as Randall Wolfen, or you have Atlanta, Georgia, Andre Dickens, those crime rates have gone down. Muriel Bowser, the crime rate has gone down in D.C. In fact, go to Baltimore.
She's been there for a long time. The crime rate went way up in the pandemic.
But you know who I'm quoting? Cash Patel, the FBI director. But even more important, but listen, even more importantly than all of that, let's go to Baltimore, who was Republicans beat Baltimore senseless. The crime rate under Mayor Brandon Scott is the lowest that has been in 50 years, Casey. I'm not making that up. And the way that he did it, and this is my problem with Republicans. This is my problem with the fact that I know that this is gamesmanship. The way that he did it was invest in local communities. The way that he did it was making sure that he had after-school programs. The kids didn't go hungry. That he invested in public school education. Those type of things. The greatest mayor in the history of Washington, D.C., Marion Barry. What did he do? He had a summer work program, so teens had things to do. That is the way that you cut crime. This showmanship is exactly what it is. And to David's point, as someone whose father was actually shot on a night where law enforcement interacted and they shouldn't with young people in February 8th of 1968, this is a recipe for disaster. My family knows firsthand what happens when you throw the military or the state police, people who are not used to policing communities, out there and they interact with people on this level. And so, look, it's politics, but call it that. This is not about lowering crime rates.
I don't know how many people they arrested last night for Tuesday, and since August the 7th, they had arrested over 100 people, 43 on Tuesday night. They've got several illegal guns off the street. It's not a display. It's a real thing.
Do I hate this guy? I feel like I do. He's the guy who says bad things, but I see him and I'm feeling like a triggered emotional response. So I just hate this fucking guy. He's the guy who always says retarded shit on the programs against Kara or whatever, right? The one, no, not Kara. Whatever. She had a baby. She's gone now. The Jewish girl.
43 on Tuesday night. They've got several illegal guns off the street.
The Jewish woman.
It's not a display. It's a real thing because there are real criminals and real violent people in Washington, D.C. Anyone
Rampart.
who lives here or visits here knows that.
Okay.
Everybody knows it's not safe. And more eyes and ears. That kid from the White House that got attacked the other day, there were two cops that just happened to be nearby. Had they not been sitting there, maybe he doesn't walk away from getting jumped by 2 people. More eyes and ears.
But I believe it was about 15-year-old girl.
And I've lived here for 20 years, no doubt. And to David's point, any homicide, any crime is a serious one, and we should take it seriously. But we have to acknowledge, and I think we all have to acknowledge, that there are politics behind all of this. And I'll just put a trivia question out to everyone at the table. Chime in if you know the answer. Of cities with a population of at least 100,000, right? Which one in America has the highest rate of crimes against individuals? Where is it?
It's probably in Arkansas.
Tennessee. Number 2, Cleveland, Ohio. Number 3, Toledo, Ohio. Number 4, as you said, Little Rock, Arkansas. What do they all have in common? They're all in red states, and we're not hearing about them.
Who are the mayors?
Has the president has the president made a push to federalize the highest?
Scott,
it's also not
let me ask you a question,
Sure, but if this were actually something that were not a political statement against,
trying to get out.
No, go ahead, David.
No, you hear what I'm saying though.
I mean, your hometown of Louisville,
also a Democrat mayor and a Democrat governor. Go ahead.
Your hometown of Louisville has comparable murder rates and property. So you're saying it's all about the Democrat mayor and Democrat governor. Would you advise the president to describe Louisville as he describes Washington? Would you support sending the military into Louisville?
I mean,
Let's Scott answer.
Well, Louisville and the District of Columbia are two different places because
Oh, they're two different places.
The Constitution designates.
President says you can send them into
You're exactly right. Louisville is a violent place. We had kids shot at a bus stop. We have an epidemic of violence in Louisville, and it has been under Democratic control for decades. And my state's been under Democratic government for the last 2 years.
Let's look at what
we are up way against the break.
Absolutely true, but you can't deny that it's politically advantageous for the mayor to go after the mayors of
Philadelphia. It's good politics to reduce crime.
Agreed.
That's why Trump is reducing crime, and I don't understand why Democrats want to keep it the same.
The mayors of blue cities and blue states, and it's a winner for him. You know that.
We are going to have to leave it there. The White House today slamming Democrats, quote, despicable, calling them despicable as their criticism of...
God, I hate this guy. He's like a... God, he's evil.
Great to see you this morning. So I know that you're a big supporter of the president's federal takeover of Washington, D.C., and you just released a statement on Monday saying he's rightfully...
Jesus Christ.
...using his executive power to restore law and order in D.C. What do you make of what we're seeing take place now with all of those National Guard troops now moving in?
Well, it's unfortunate that the president had to do this, but he had to do it. Look, he's talked to Mayor Bowser. He's given her plenty of advance notice that they're going to have to get crime under control. I think the mayor is trying. She's got a very liberal D.C. council, and then she has some awful judges and prosecutors there who just will not hold people accountable. And if criminals aren't held accountable, they're going to continue to commit crime. So what we've got now is just juveniles running around at all hours of the night, breaking things, spraying graffiti. We have people carjacking. We have people mugging people at all hours of the day, and it's out of control. So the president had to send in the National Guard.
Right.
And I think that you've seen just in the last 24 hours a huge decline in crime. And we're going to support this. We're going to support doing this in other cities if it works out in Washington, D.C. And again, it's unfortunate, but we spend a lot on our military. Our military has been in many countries around the world for the past 2 decades, walking the streets, trying to reduce crime in other countries. We need to focus on the big cities in America now, and that's what the president's doing.
Yeah, we're going to have Caroline Levin on in just a few minutes, and she has the updated arrest numbers for us. Again, it's not even been 3 days that the National Guard has been there. So we know that the president is adamant that 30 days is not enough time to restore order in this city. And after his initial order expires, then he'll need to ask Congress to extend this as well. Do you think Congress is going to put up a big fight?
Well, there's always going to be people in Congress that fight the president. The Democrats are never going to support anything Donald Trump wants to do. And unfortunately, we have 1 or 2 Republicans that vote no on everything. But at the end of the day, I think people are going to see that this is working. And I think people that represent big cities, which are the Democrats in Congress, they're going to probably hear from their constituents. Look, that worked in Washington, D.C. Why don't you vote to allow President Trump to come into Chicago or New York City or Philadelphia and try to combat the criminal activity in their city? So I think that this is an experiment that's probably needed in a lot of the Democrat-run cities in America, and hopefully there'll be some support. There'll be some Democrat support that'll cross the line, because anything takes 60 votes in the Senate. So these senators are we're gonna have to have a few Democrats to support that. But I'm pretty confident we'll get it through the House, and hopefully we can get it through the Senate with a few Democrats that hear from their constituents.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I want to shift gears to this because I know just last week.
Caroline Levitt will be here soon. On Newsmax? Is that what she said earlier? Ugh.
Yeah, what a big change from where we were at the beginning of the Trump administration. GOP, the U.S. gives too much support to Ukraine. Back in February, the plurality, 47%, said yes, the U.S. in fact gives too much support to Ukraine. Republicans did not like that. But look at where we are now. Look at this. No takes the cake at 46%. We have had an inverse of the position.
When was the Zelensky meeting? Because I know after the Zelensky meeting, all the conservatives became super ass-pained about Ukraine and Zelensky, but I wonder if the opinions have literally just flipped because Trump cries so much about Putin now on Truth Social because he gets manhandled by him so often. And now they're like, fuck Russia.
The Republican Party has shifted at least a little bit on Ukraine, and now all of a sudden they don't believe that, in fact, the U.S. gives too much support to Ukraine, which is very much unlike what we saw in February. Rarely do I see poll numbers like this. You read the blogosphere, you read X, you might think that Republicans think that we're way too much in Ukraine's camp, but Republicans at large no longer believe that.
And on the issue that is a big topic of debate, especially early on in the administration, supplying weapons, continued support for Ukraine in that regard, where are they?
Yeah, this is an even bigger shift. I mean, my goodness gracious. U.S. should give Ukraine more arms and military supplies. Look at the...
Right now, there's a meeting with Trump and Putin. Why aren't you watching it? I've just entered because breaking news is boring as fuck to me. How long is it going to take? I'm just going to spend 5 hours staring at the screen for chyrons of breaking news for...
This again among Republicans. In March, it was just 30%. Hello, we're now up to 51%. The majority of Republicans, and certainly majority of Americans at large, believe that the U.S. should give more arms to Ukraine. So this, to me, is just such an important point as we head into the summit later today. Americans and Republicans are much more on the side of Ukraine than they used to be. It is quite the switcheroo from where we were just a few months ago.
It's very true. And what about views of Vladimir Putin?
Yeah, what about views of Vladimir Putin?
What about that guy?
I mean, this guy is hated across the political spectrum. Unfavorable view of Putin. Look at this. Among all adults, 88%. Among Republicans, 84%. Independents, 88%. Democrats, 93%. You rarely ever find Democrats and Republicans united as much as they are on the issue of Vladimir Putin. The bottom line is they don't trust him and they don't like him.
All right, I'm still just wondering what's happening with the other 10+% here.
10+% believe that we faked the moon landing, so they can get them to believe anything.
I get it now. Harry,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Really? Do you think it's only 10% of Americans? Well, I guess the Democrats probably don't buy it, but on the Republican side, it wouldn't surprise me if a quarter thinks that the moon landing was fake. Maybe not a quarter. No, because older boomers probably need that moon landing shit, right? To be real. Ukraine will decline whatever deal Trump cooks up. How you think Trump's going to react to that? Who knows? What the fuck? A moose tried to get into the base where Putin and Trump will have a meeting. Holy. Wait, did he just phase through the fence? Wait, what the fuck? Or no, he was already in there. Huh, my bad. Did I just try to rewind a video on Twitter? Fuck me. There you go. Oh, he's already in there. Never mind. Moose don't have rules. Well, there's not a no moose sign, to be fair. Really?
I don't know that we're going to get an immediate...
My president calling into random fucking Fox News show. This is like before I was banned on Twitch and I would just pop up in random streams at like 2 a.m. to debate people.
I don't know that we're going to get an immediate ceasefire, but I think it's going to come... See, I'm more interested in immediate peace deals, getting peace fast. And depending on what happens with my meeting, I'm going to be calling up President Zelensky, and let's get him over to wherever we're going to meet. I don't know where we're going to have the second meeting, but we have an idea of 3 different locations. And we'll be, including the possibility, because it would be by far the easiest, of staying in Alaska. You know, we have big flights of, and he has the same thing. We have a lot of planes going when the head of Russia, the head of the United States, you know, et cetera, go.
So, Mr. President, did you tell Zelensky to be ready? Did you tell him to be ready to come should you start making legitimate progress?
I don't want to talk about a second meeting even to him. I don't want to even indicate there might be a second meeting. Maybe there will, maybe there won't. So I don't want to talk that. It's not
okay.
It's not important enough. But it would be certainly convenient if we had a very good meeting, because I'm going to let them negotiate their deal. I'm not going to negotiate the deal. I'm going to let them negotiate their deal. So we're going to be calling President Zelensky.
Then why are they just not at this meeting? Am I misunderstanding this? What?
It'd be certainly convenient if we had a very...
Is Trump just a go-between right now? Or...
A good meeting, because I'm going to let them negotiate their deal. I'm not going to negotiate the deal. I'm going to let them negotiate their deal. So we're going to be calling President Zelensky if it's a good meeting. If it's a bad meeting, I'm not calling anybody. I'm going home. I'll call you. I'll do Fox and Friends some morning, and we'll have a lot of fun. But if it's a good meeting, I'm going to call President Zelensky and the European leaders.
Those phone calls. Trump date and politics. I was blown away. FBI director describes finding Russiagate burn bag. Oh, the burn bags!
It has been an action-packed 7 months.
The burn bags! Finally! Are we going to get some pictures of these burn bags? Not the burn bags.
For the Trump administration, but for everything that you see and hear on the news, there is so much more happening behind the scenes. At the FBI, the director, Kash Patel, is working around the clock with Dan Bongino and others and other agents. Not only are they dealing with the crime crisis left behind by Joe Biden and unvetted illegals, 12 to 20 million of them, but also peeling back the layers of what has been what we have reported as a deeply politicized, weaponized federal bureaucracy. For example, Kash Patel, the FBI director, recently uncovered thousands and thousands of Russia hoax documents inside these burn bags in a secret room at the FBI. The director also discovered official allegations from a Democratic staffer who accused Adam Schiff of orchestrating leaks of classified intelligence in order to hurt President Trump. Those allegations...
You know it's bullshit because we still haven't heard what that classified intelligence leak was. They haven't said, so it must have been something inconsequential as fuck.
Had been swept under the rug at the FBI until now. And that's not all. According to a bombshell report from justthenews.com founder, editor-in-chief John Solomon, James Comey also accused of routinely leaking classified information to the New York Times through a friend, a professor at Columbia University. Just the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, here with the very latest, FBI Director Kash Patel. Kash, great to have you. Let's start with the burn room. Now, your knowledge of this issue runs wide and...
He always looks so surprised to be on the news channels. Do you remember that guy who showed up for a... Was he supposed to work as like a computer tech or whatever? BBC interview accidentally on air. This guy? He showed up for like a job interview with the BBC, and I guess somebody fucked something up and they sat him in a camera area and he just goes live on TV.
So what does this all mean for the industry and the growth of music online? Well, Guy Cuny is the editor of the technology website News Wireless. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Were you surprised by this verdict today?
I'm very surprised to see this verdict to come on me, because I was not expecting that. When I came, they told me something else, and I'm coming. You got an interview there, so it's a big surprise anyway.
A big surprise.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. With regards to the cost that's involved, do you...
To be fair, when he said big surprise though, I don't think he was talking about the ruling. I think he means he's surprised they came to me, like that the camera just came to him. I think that's what he was saying about.
You think now more people will be downloading online?
No, apparently he didn't get the job.
Actually, if you can go everywhere, you're gonna see a lot of people downloading to the internet and the website, everything they want.
But he still answers the questions.
But I think it's much better for the development and to improve people what they want and to get on the easy way and so fast the things they look.
The conservative guy on CNN was correct about crime. It's a shame this issue just got blown past. Correct what? That deploying the National Guard is going to help with crime? Hold on. Whoa, he was so right about reducing crime and Democrat mayors conveniently being in place in high crime cities, and Destiny just switches tabs. That's not what I expect from Destiny just running. What am I running from? Deploying the National Guard anywhere is not the way that you fix crime. You don't do law enforcement with the military. That's fucking retarded. He sued for royalties though recently? Yeah, I saw that on Lay Reddit.
Looking for.
This does really seem to be the way the music industry is progressing now, that people want to go onto the website and download music.
Exactly. You can go everywhere on the cyber cafe and you can check. You can go easy. It's going to be very easy way for everyone to get something to the internet.
Thank you, thanks very much.
Poor dude.
Runs deep because you were working with Gavin Newsom at the time. I believe you were his chief of staff. You know a lot about this topic. Were you as surprised as I was that all of that information in that burn room existed?
Sean, I was blown away.
Wow.
But sadly, it's come to be expected in this town when corrupt bureaucrats weaponize and destroy law enforcement like predecessors of mine did at the FBI. And thankfully, Donald Trump's mandate and election victory was for transparency and accountability. Sean, just think about this for a second. Not only did we expose the Russiagate hoax with the greats like Devin and Trey and Johnny Ratcliffe when we were back there in the House Intel Committee excavating and exposing.
Please remind me. No, I guess they would have. I was going to say, can you tell me what was the Russiagate hoax that was just recently exposed? Can you explain that? But I feel like they would just say, well, Obama lied about everything. I think that's probably the answer.
The FISA abuses, the corruption of political parties, and the lies to a federal court just to illegally surveil a presidential candidate. I come in then years later, nearly a decade as director of the FBI, thinking we uncovered most of it. But sadly, we found a room locked away in the Hoover building that contained burn bags. And just for your audience, Sean, a burn bag is a government bag that is specifically created to destroy classified evidence and shred and burn it. Hence the name burn bag. We didn't find one, we found 7. That wasn't the only thing we found in there. We found hard drives from our predecessors and prior FBI leadership. And folks like Page, Strzok, Comey, McCabe, Comey, the list goes on from Russiagate. The names.
Did you say Comey twice?
Leadership. And folks like Page, Strzok, Comey, McCabe, Comey, the list goes.
When you're reaching so hard. When I write etc. at the end of a list because I don't have any more examples.
Goes on from Russiagate, the names were strewn all over these materials. Now, as our great attorney general just told you, we can't deny or confirm what we're looking at, but what we can discuss is what we've publicly disclosed. And these documents have been publicly disclosed because the greatest way to educate and bring along the American public for transparency, initiative, and accountability under President Trump is to give them the documents. And step 1 is by cleaning house inside the walls of Hoover.
Okay, well, one of the important things you got to remember is that that's the FBI's job. You gather the evidence, and then it is examined, in this case, by the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. And, but...
Richard Hanani had some expert on to debunk the whole Tulsi Gabbard Russiagate document. Yes, I'm friends with this person. She's super intelligent on a lot of these things, and I highly recommend watching that if you're bored. She worked with a lot of intelligence stuff. I don't know how old she is, but this person is very, very nice. Very cool person.
There's been a lot of talk and a lot written about the investigation into a grand conspiracy. To the extent possible, what can you tell us about that? In other words, that this is long-standing. If it is, in fact, a grand conspiracy, the statute of limitations would be eliminated. Is that what the investigation is about?
Well, Sean, what we're doing is building a case for the American public under the Truth and Transparency and Accountability Initiative. And what I mean by that is AG Bondi brilliantly highlighted our partners, Director Ratcliffe at the CIA and Director Gabbard over at the DNI. We are working with them because the documents that would facilitate an investigation of this magnitude don't just rest at the FBI and DOJ. They're throughout the intelligence community. And we, the Russiagate guys like Johnny Ratcliffe and myself who investigated this and exposed this, are trying to expose documentation that we've known existed for years. At the same time, we're finding new material. So the best approach is to release this information with them and also go to our colleagues in Congress who have an oversight function on the Judiciary Committees and Oversight Committees and demand from us information and documentation that we can publicize. Things like the Durham Annex, which we've known have existed this entire...
Fuck. Like if you... Like the two questions are, one, what's in the burn bags? 3 questions. What's in the burn bags? Because we haven't heard that. 2, why weren't they burned if they were in the burn bags? Seems like a bad place to hide something, to put it in a burn bag and not burn it. And then 3, are the stuff in the burn bags already digitally backed up so nothing is even being destroyed that's like unique?
Time, but we're classified for political reasons. We are educating the American public as we build through this transparency initiative. And where the investigation goes, I can assure you of this. We will max accountability for the American public. We delivered before when we ran the Russiagate investigation. I now happen to be President Trump's choice for FBI director, and I'm honored to lead that charge with our great partners in Johnny Ratcliffe and our great Attorney General and the prosecutors they have over there who are just as committed to justice as everyone should be, blindly so. We are going to de-weaponize the FBI and get its credibility back to the American people by delivering the accountability they need, by showing them what we're doing every step of the way. That has never been done before.
Restoring the FBI to its former greatness. That would be the words I would use to describe what needs to be done and I hope can be done. If we look at the declassified materials, for example, that Tulsi Gabbard released, we already had an intelligence assessment on the question of whether or not Donald Trump colluded with Vladimir Putin. Here I am in Alaska. They will have a summit tomorrow. And in fact, the conclusion of senior career intelligence officials was it did not happen. There's no evidence at all that it happened. Then the report suggests that Barack Obama himself, along with his top intel officials, that would probably be people like Brennan and Clapper and maybe some others, decided to do a new intelligence assessment because they didn't like the old one. And they got a narrative that moved forward. But yet also they added...
The narrative that moved forward didn't have anything to do with Trump colluding with Russia, though. It just had to do with the fact that Russia was behind the DNC hack. They were. Notice how they never actually bring up that fact of who was behind the DNC hack. Like, they never actually addressed that. That's what it was about, and that is true. Like, nobody disagrees with that. But nobody ever brings that up, because I don't think anybody even knows what they're talking about. It's just all buzzwords.
Added something, and I believe it was John Brennan that said they did not do this, but then they used the Hillary Clinton bought and paid for Russian disinformation dossier. That was also used by James Comey for the FISA applications. He signed 3 of the 4. He was warned in August of 2016 not to use it. And then we knew definitively by December of 2016 that, in fact, that dossier had been debunked and that Christopher Steele was incredible. So the question is a timeline. When you add that to the 2020 election and the fact that by March of 2020, they knew Hunter's laptop, they had verified its authenticity and that it was real, and then they're pre-bunking it by meeting weekly with big tech companies, and then when it gets dropped, which they knew would happen because of Rudy Giuliani's attorney, they knew Bob Costello had a copy, are they putting cinder...
Okay. What is link me the Trump, what's the best Trump meeting stream? There we go.
We're still holding for a minute. Okay. The driver's here.
There we go. President Trump and Putin together there. And Andrew, it was interesting to hear some of these shouted out questions from the media. Both leaders opted not to say anything, but just pose for some pictures. But we did hear some of the media members shouting to President Putin, saying, "Did you underestimate Ukraine in the war?"
Yeah, I also heard, will you stop bombing civilians in Ukraine?
Shot stays up for now.
Let me just hold on the line with you here.
Our Pelican is like the go-to cases for, is this for guns or for cameras? For everything? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you guys are gonna go. What's that?
Transmission pool going to come down in 1 minute. 1 minute and we will come down.
React. There's a plane in the background, and then some fighter jets here, and then some vans that I think have political people in them. They're going to talk soon.
We can leave all our stuff out here, right? I'll cover it up in case it rains. Sure, if you want to. Then you can pull the plug.
Same with the mountain in the back. That's the Alaska Mountains, also known as Anchorage Peak. Steven, something I've been wondering, what do you think, how many people of MAGA government are aware of what they're doing? How much incompetence versus maliciousness? At the top, it's all maliciousness. For the politicians, it's maliciousness. As you go further down or more into the frontline employees, probably not as malicious. People just do whatever. Say anything of substance going to come out of this meeting? Probably not. Why isn't Putin under arrest? The United States of America is not party to the Rome Statute, to the International Criminal Court. We don't have an obligation to arrest anybody as a result of that. Do you think she knows her mic is muted? Holy shit, who's that? When are they getting there? Here? I think it's in like 3 or 4 hours. The AP is interviewing protesters. Oh, okay.
It's going really well. I'm really enjoying it, yeah.
Some fun activities, maybe?
Yeah, hopefully after.
We get to go to up north or further south?
Yeah, hopefully this weekend.
Woo! Do you think any other country would arrest someone like Putin or Netanyahu? Seems like too high risk. Even if you're part of the system, you'd have moral outrage. I don't know what the standards are there. I think it was a big deal because I think South Africa didn't arrest Putin or something, right? Wasn't it South Africa? Germany said they wouldn't arrest Netanyahu. Nice.
Oh, this is cute.
Jesus, stop.
These people have a mental disorder.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
Oh my God!
Mr. Putin, will you agree to a ceasefire? Mr. Putin, will you commit to not killing any more civilians?
Thank you, Press. Let's go. Come on, guys. Thank you, Press.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Press.
President Putin, why should President Trump trust your word now?
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
We've got to
Thank you,
go.
Press.
Thank you, Press.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
Everybody get out of the room.
Thank you, Press.
What? Wait, where the fuck is the link to this? To a 15-minute segment. Oh, fuck me. I'm sorry. Are you able to send the link again? This is like half the population of Alaska right here. Stream link is sent via email Thursday night. What was is yesterday Thursday? What the fuck was this? The 14th. Stream link. Oh.
I love my country. I love people around me. Even people have different opinions than me. I love the fact that